the process of another one. Is it suitable for is it suitable for me to use p-square when the size of sample are different?
Yeah, when I want to compare the proportion of my study, for example, one variable such as the gender, for example, to another one, but the size of sample, the two studies are different. So is it suitable for me to use p-square?
You have your own study, and you have a different person, a different study. Well, you're comparing apples and oranges. You can't compare. Because your sample in your study are obtained from your populations. Okay, how do you know that your population is different from their population? It's the same as their population. It's not. You cannot. So if from the results of different studies, and you want to draw conclusions whether to pool the data and draw a new conclusion, and there's what we call a meta-analysis. Okay, so if you only have two studies, that would be a very weak meta-analysis. Usually people would search the literature and identify a number of similar studies, okay? And in order to compare and combine them for comparison, you have to have such criteria to make sure that the data are comparable. The methodology of the measurement need to be the same. The populations from which the samples were drawn need to be similar or comparable. Okay. So there's not enough time to go into all the full details of meta-analysis, because meta-analysis in itself is one very specialized type of analysis. The bottom line is garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so the selection of the data in order to pool for analysis has to be very strict, and the selection of the study is very important. Okay, if the wrong studies are selected, or the wrong studies or bad studies are included, the outcome of the analysis would be invalid. So if you have only one study, your study, to try to compare with another study, there's no statistical test that you can compare to say what p-value there is that your study is different from their study or not. Your study is different from their study, period. It's different. You have done it your way, they have done it their way. Well, depending on the size of the sample. Of course, the published studies with large sample size would dominate the data, because the bottom line is, by pooling them, the goal is to increase the N, increase the population, increase the sample size, so that the true population is better represented. And the bigger studies would be represented more. Yeah.
Sorry, you just talk about the meta-analysis. Can you tell me more about detailed? What would we do with? What would they do with meta-analysis? I often read the study, and they also say that follow the meta-analysis, we conclude that, and I want to ask about the great recommendation of the meta-analysis. It's a high, moderate, low value.
Meta-analysis, in order to do the meta-analysis, the meta-analysis is basically the analysis that have already been published. Okay. You search the literature. The first step is literature review. You search the literature for the studies that have been done to try to address the question that you want to answer. Your search needs to be unbiased. It needs to be comprehensive. Okay, so when you write the paper for meta-analysis, you will have to report what is your search strategy. Okay, your computerized literature search strategy. What keywords did you use to put into what database, and what comes up? How many papers? How many studies did you find with those keywords? Okay, and then you talk about how many of these studies, and based on what criteria that you evaluate them with, to see how many of these papers are suitable to be included in your meta-analysis. Okay, so then from these papers you extract the data. Okay, what is the sample size? What is the result? What is the 95% confidence interval? Okay, you extract all these data, okay, and then you put into the, well, these days there are quite a few computer statistical packages to do the meta-analysis. Okay, so you input your data into your statistical analysis, and then you do the calculation and see what is the summarized, the p-value and the 90 and the p-value and the 95%. What is the hazard ratio and the 95% confidence intervals? Okay, so and then from there you also do what's called a forest plot. Okay, to see what is the contribution of each individual study and how does that compare with the summary, the hazard ratio. And then you also need to do a analysis to analyze whether there's publication bias. Okay, so there are many steps involved in the meta-analysis. And I myself is not a statistician, and I have not done a meta-analysis before, but I just learned and read about what are the steps involved in the meta-analysis, because I need to know that in order to understand what people are telling me. Even I don't do the meta-analysis, I need to understand what a meta-analysis is. Otherwise, when people tell me bullshit, I cannot say that. I would accept it because I don't know.
And about the recommendation of the meta-analysis study, is the high, is a moderate, or is low or very low?
High. High.
High.
Well, depending on the paper, you need to read the methodology. Okay, so usually, if it's published in high-impact journals, you can be pretty sure that the meta-analysis is done properly. Okay.
And the second one, I want to ask you about the survival analysis. I still confused with the Kaplan-Meier method, long-rank test, and especially Cox correlational hazard. I'm still confused, and especially in multivariable Cox regression model. Your example you give is about cancer, prostate cancer, and I don't know multivariable survival analysis.
The survival analysis is time to event analysis. Okay, so sometimes you can analyze survival, but time to event analysis you can see. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. For the interest of time, we'll stop now.
For tomorrow lectures, so in the morning we will have a tele-lecture about genome atlas and C bioportal. So can you all please bring your personal computer? There will be Wi-Fi internet service provided and the password will be sent out tomorrow. In the afternoon, we will have to shift the lecture a little bit earlier. So after the tele-lecture in the morning, we will start immediately the lecture from Professor Yang. And then in the afternoon, we will continue the second part and we will finish before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay? So all the lecture notes will be sent out in the morning, tomorrow morning. Good? All right. See you all in the afternoon.